The world isn't safe, and you're not worth keeping safe. That's been rattling around in my head for the last 24 hours. I wanted to say it out loud to you and have a record of it, this video, so that I didn't forget the statement. It's a quote, really. I am paraphrasing a little bit, but it's by Paul Conti, the psychologist, and I listened to him on the Lex Fridman podcast yesterday. He was talking about trauma and how that's the fundamental statement of experiencing trauma. I apologize. I didn't mean for this to be a three-parter on suffering. It just kind of happened. I don't like how my chin splits. I get a little button. I guess I can fix it. Yeah, first of all, I highly recommend that podcast. All right. Paul Conti. I would say listening to him speak for 3 hours with Lex Fridman was quietly life-changing, except it wasn't quiet. It was robustly life-changing. He didn't really teach me anything I didn't already know, because I'm pretty well educated on this topic, but the way he framed it, the way he frames complex ideas, making them not only easy to digest, but revealing nuance that you hadn't considered before. Profound and sublime. The world isn't safe, and you're not worth keeping safe. Not that phrase exactly, but something like that was the principal lesson of my childhood. Even said out loud, and said by people who love me, loving people. Similarly, a statement like that in its core has been my mantra my whole life. And with great shame, I must admit, it's something I've taught my children too. Why this is shameful or bad, because you might be the kind of person that's like, yeah, that statement's fundamentally true. What's the big hubbub there, Joe, in real life? Why, what's the issue? Well, I disagree with that statement. I disagree with that statement. I think it's a point that can be argued, even argued well, but I don't agree. I think, well, that's for another time. And the tragedy for me is that I'm not only repeating to myself endlessly something that I don't fundamentally believe, but that I'm passing it on. I could cry about it right now. I really could. So I'm not going to do that. Yeah. Maybe the world isn't safe, but you're worth keeping safe. Nobody isn't worth keeping safe, no matter how awful they are, or their situation or circumstances. Everybody's deserving and entitled to a measure of safety. Like that should be non-controversial. And it just really hits me in the heart. It really hurts my feelings that on some level back there, I don't believe that. I don't believe it to such a degree that I've reinforced it every day of my life for 4 decades now. I don't know. Well, I guess it's time to squat. I thought I'd just start filming this video and something would come to me, some sort of way to bed back that, and it hasn't. But today's play day. Today's fun day. I did my deadlifts yesterday. I'm a little sore, but not as sore as I expected. I'm gonna build up to something heavy, and then I think I want to do one arm overhead squats a circus lift. And so, yeah, stay tuned for that. I'm sure I'll carry on with this idea in a little bit when I'm doing my voiceover. But I had really good warm-ups today. My run went chef fingers. And I'm ready to move some weights, man. Despite my heavy heart and the depressing tone I've started this with. So stay tuned. Maybe the world isn't safe. I mean, it could even be more than a maybe. You know, if you were trying to argue that the world is safe, I think that would be a pretty hard argument to win. So fine. The first part of the statement, I reluctantly agree. The world isn't safe. But I do believe you are worth keeping safe. And the way that's phrased, it kind of implies that someone else should keep you safe, that you're worth that to someone else, meaning you should have someone in your life that thinks you're worth keeping safe. And that's definitely the most obvious reading, but I think the real reading is you should consider yourself worth keeping safe, that you're worth more than you think, and that you're more than you think. And you're like, I'm hesitating because I don't want to use the word potential because I hate that word. Like, you don't have the potential of being worth saving. You're straight worth being safe, keeping safe. Oof. I don't know why this is upsetting me so much, you know? All right, let me give you an imagination experiment, right? Think about the worst thing that ever happened to you. A thing where you were purely victimized. It could be a childhood thing, could be an adult thing, could be an accident, you know? And it should be something that you blame yourself for, right? Because we all do that, you know? Like, there's definitely different choices you could have made that would have prevented that thing from happening to you. And so you take on some of that culpability. It makes it a little easier to carry, right? Now imagine that you're faced with somebody else, a total stranger, who blames themselves for the exact same thing that you blame yourself for. This thing that you were victimized about, you know? And you have to tell them that you agree and it's their fault. Imagine that. Like, and maybe it's not as tricky for you, I don't know. I repeatedly blame myself for things that were not my fault. But I wouldn't tell my worst enemy that same situation was their fault. I wouldn't say that to somebody to hurt them. So 235 for one, which this isn't my max. I'm switching gears quickly. This isn't my max. I think my max is 245, but it moved well today. Like, it was a pretty effortless squat, man. And that is, I gotta say, that's never been the case for me. You know, I've never squatted 235 easily. Well, maybe when I was like in my early 20s and fat as fuck, I did. But yeah, I definitely did then. But I'm really happy about that. Okay, so today's talk was weirdly depressing. I suppose over the last 3 days I've been building up to it. And if you've watched this far, thank you so much, man. You guys are great. But maybe do me one more favor then. I posed the question, right? The world is not safe, and you're not worth keeping safe. True or false? What's your answer? My answer is false. I mean, it's a two-parter. So the first part, true. Second part, false. Reply in the comments if you want. I can't make you do anything, but I'd love to talk to you about this. You know. I think it's an interesting way to frame your worldview. Do you think the world's safe? And do you think you're worth keeping safe? Do you think others are worth keeping safe? This is Joe in real life. I love you guys. Be good to each other today. I'll see you tomorrow, and I look forward to your answers.